The first thing I'd like for you guys to remember or to keep in mind or to take note of is that there are 1,000 shades of gray between black and white. And ultimately, you guys, gray is absolutely okay. How we translate that onto the yoga mat, it's not easy. But we have to realize that we're not trying to perfect the pose. Rather, we're trying to connect to where we are at that moment in the pose and learn how to build from there. The second thing I'd like you to keep in mind is that consistency is king. Or queen, whatever metaphor works for you. Anything that we put our minds to, like losing 10 pounds or starting a project or developing a yoga practice, requires that we are consistent in our approach. Consistency is different for everyone, but what we've found time and time again is that those that are able to adopt the practice of yoga into their lifestyle all practice at a minimum of 2 times a week for a duration of 6 months. We totally understand that stuff happens, and weeks may go by where life circumstance just simply won't allow us to practice. Now, with that understood, most of the year is met with a consistent approach. Now, the final point I want to make is that it is absolutely okay to rest periodically throughout your practice and to make sure that you're taking deep, full body, diaphragmatic, ujjayi breaths in and out to help facilitate some of that intensity that's moving through you. So remember that there are 1,000 shades of gray between black and white, and gray is okay, that a consistent approach will bring us closer to our goals, and to rest when you need to. Okay, so now that you have those basic ideas written down, hopefully, let's get to this short video that I put together for you on Sun Salutation A. Okay, so here we go. Felicia and I had a fantastic time putting this video together. We had never done this together. So the first thing that we do in nearly every single class is start in ragdoll. Now notice the feet are at the outer edges of your yoga mat. It's something you want to put into your notes. Always start with your feet wide, okay? Now if you notice, she's bending her knees a lot, shaking out the head, clasping opposite elbow with opposite hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and notion for her lower back to release, her middle back to release, and for her upper back to release, and the back of the neck. Yeah, shake your head no, and just really relax here. Now what gravity does is gravity begins to reclaim your body, decompressing your entire body that's literally been compressed throughout the course of the day. This is one of the reasons why we choose ragdoll as the very first pose. Now, as we progress in the sequence here, you want to make sure that you step all the way back and come down to your hands and your knees. Now from here, hands and knees, before we move into what's called the downward facing dog, notice how Felicia's arms, they're fully contracted. I mean, you can see the muscle tone in her triceps. So there's an engagement there. She's alive in her arms. Curl the toes, send the hips straight up into the sky to downward dog. Yeah. So when you look at downward dog, it's like an inverted V. Okay? Now in downward dog, the first thing you want to focus on are your hands. Notice how I'm really rooting her hands down, drawing energy up through her arms, and sending the hips up into the sky. Then you draw the thighs back, and you draw the shins back, and you allow the heels to draw down to the yoga mat. And then you just allow it to breathe, allow it to just open, and just get as long as you can. Now, a great technique here to help release some of the tension in the hamstrings, the upper hamstrings. Notice how I had her bend her knees. And immediately there, let's see if we can rewind this for a second. Let me try this. Yeah, I think, no, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to rewind it. But anyways, you notice her knees are bending and it releases through the lower back, gives her a deeper extension, and then she straightens her knees and it helps with that full line. So, the next pose is going to be high push-up. Once again, you can see the tone in her arms. Right, her elbows aren't bent, they're fully extended, and the muscles of the triceps there are actually protecting the elbow joint. there's an incline from the heels straight up to her shoulders. Notice that, okay? A lot of times a student has more of a straight line where the buttocks is like right about here, all right? Or it's drooping down. You want to feel that straight line that engages the core, okay? Now, to modify the sun salutation, you're going to put your knees on the earth. Now, if you notice, when the knees went down, there's still her body weight in the arms. They're still contracted. And what you're going to do is you're going to bend the elbows, move forward, and lower all the way down to the earth. Awesome. Now, by lifting your hands and your legs, what it does is it takes the stress off of your arms and allows you to now strengthen through your spine. Your feet fan, there's just length. Now, as you release, you press up to all fours. Oh, sorry about that. And here we are again, getting ready to move into what's called child's pose. Now in child's pose, what I'm doing is I'm notioning that there's a looping down of the hips to help lengthen the lower back and the reaching forwards of the arms. See, looping the hips down, reaching your arms forwards. Now as you come up to all fours to prepare for your downward dog again, you send your hips skywards. The head is down, the neck is long, right? There's a big wide open base through the body. Awesome. Now from here, you're going to hoist the heels way up to the sky, bend the knees so deeply, and look up at the hands as you slowly walk to them. Now as you get up to the top of the mat, typically what we do, I'll just pause it for a moment, is we set up our rag doll again, grabbing your elbows, relaxing into the pose. Okay. Now, if you notice, Felicia walked her feet together. That's a very important piece that a lot of us miss. Feet together, and then what you're going to do is you're going to roll up to standing. Notice the head is the last thing. Then you sweep the arms high, reach up to the sky, take a full breath in, and the hands come to prayer. Now typically right here what we do is we take 3 deep ohms. Then we begin our sun salutation. So you're going to take the arms up into the sky and breathe in. Then notice here, first thing, knees bend, hips go back, forward fold. It's important to remember, you guys, like flexibility is more of a state of mind than how straight your legs go. So you want to be able to be okay with bending your knees. The next pose is a halfway up. What you do is you bring your hands onto the earth, and notice how she bent her knees there a lot. The length of the spine, the knees are bending, and then you step to your high push-up. Place your knees and lower all the way to the earth. Now from here, what you're going to do is lift up, take a full breath, length again, and then send up back to all fours. Curl the toes, downward dog. It's absolutely okay to do that. A lot of students say, well, am I getting the same benefit? Of course you are. You're going to be just fine. Now to transition, the heels lift. That gives you more lift through the hips. Then you exhale, you bend the knees a lot, and you walk to the front of the mat again. And repeat the process. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale to your forward fold. Inhale up to stand. And then exhale, swan, dive, forward. Knees are bending. You breathe into a flat back. You exhale to plank in your lower push-up. Remember, place your knees down, lower. And then from here, we're just going to rest in your chaturanga. Now, what I'm doing is notice that she's literally flat through here. Now, in order to get that, you have to have a strong core, the belly. The knees are down. I'm telling you guys, don't be afraid to put your knees down. By putting your knees down, it just helps to get more contraction through the core of your body. And then eventually, we'll have you release to the yoga mat. Now, if I want you to notice something, notice how the elbows are up and the shoulders are pointing down. The next thing I do is I work on setting up your upper dog pose. We moved Felicia's hands back, so now they're underneath the elbows. And then, what I want to do is I want to position myself and roll. Watch this. Roll her shoulders up. Now notice the difference there. Look at that. The shoulder, my Anusara teacher would call it the head of the arm bones. Right there. Before it was rooting down, but now it's straight. And there's a strong line, right? biomechanically. Now, biomechanics means the way the body works mechanically, right through there. Now, as Felicia builds her upward dog, you couldn't be more well aligned. The tops of the feet press down, the calf muscles engage, there's a gentle thigh engagement, the buttocks, they squeeze together just a bit. Now, watch, you bend the elbows a little bit, it broadens the chest, allows the heart space to lift a little higher. Then you fully extend the arms. Look at the tone of the arms, you go up, you lift the chest, even take your head back a little bit. And then there you are, transitioning straight up and back to downward facing dog. Now hear what I'm doing. When I assist Felicia, I'm in a modified warrior stance and I press on the hips all the way. And that translates straight down to help lengthen the backs of the legs. From here she's going to lift, she's going to breathe out, bend the knees, and just make your way up to the front of the mat again. Flatten the back, forward fold. So here is an actual example of what we do at the yoga studio. In a live class, you lift the heels, you bend the knees, you breathe everything out, and you just walk to the hands. I mean, everyone can do that. You walk up there and you take a flat back. Remember, hands on the shins, knees are bending, and then you fold. Then you simply sweep or roll up to standing. You take a full breath in at the top, and then we exhale and swan dive forward. The knees bend a lot. You take a flat back, you breathe in. This is all a part of the sun salutation. Then you plant the palms, step to plank, and lower down. You can either come to up dog or just do a cobra. And either way, you transition right back to downward facing dog. Now, the sun salutations are an important part of this entire sequence, this entire what we call real powerful yoga class, because what happens is we use those sun salutations to link all of the different phases together.